When I was 32, I was head of my own school in China, and it was a very innovative school, and it was extremely well funded. And it was the first of its kind, a liberal arts high school in China. We had a 5,000 book English book library. We had 10 Ivy League graduates teaching these seminar classes. We had our own newspaper, we had our own coffee house, we had our own English magazine, we had our own buildings. It was a wonderful program, and I got a lot of attention both in China and overseas. And I let it get into my head because I was young and I've never done such a thing before. And suddenly, for my own imagination, for my own hard work, in about a year's time, I was able to build my own school. And this would become the best school in China over the next 10, 20 years. Um, and it let and it let and it got into my head and it made me arrogant. And people started criticizing me because they thought that I was using public funds for private benefit. And I got really angry. And, I started to argue with teachers because we're still part of the public school system. And eventually it led to my downfall because there's so much opposition that I had to be fired. Okay. And that to me was an extremely important experience because it taught me that success is a danger. I always have to ask myself, what is it that I want? Do I want success or do I want to achieve my vision? Because these are not mutually compatible, right? If you want to achieve success, that's one thing. But if you want to achieve your vision, then that requires discipline, restraint, humility. Okay, so that's something that I learned. Something else that happened is that I'm married and I have three young children now, and they anchor me and they center me. Okay, so you're right in that in May I had a small YouTube channel, and now it's a very large YouTube channel. But that to me doesn't matter. That's just a mechanism. That's just a tool to achieve what I want, which is I want to be able to deliver a message of hope to the world. I want to prepare the world for this spiritual enlightenment or awakening that's about to take place. And I want to do it because I want to build a legacy for my children. And that's what matters to me. Okay. So I think that as long as you're aware of what your vision is, and as long as you're able to articulate this vision through strategic steps, then the success is a bit of a distraction. Okay. And so an example is I get a lot of views on my YouTube channel, but I don't monetize my YouTube channel. And people email me and says like, "You're an idiot. This video got 1 million views. Why aren't you monetizing? Why aren't you collecting ad revenue?" And the answer is money is distracting. Um, my wife told me this. In China, $1 million, okay, that's a magic number. Before $1 million, you have total intellectual freedom. You can do whatever you want. But after $1 million, people are going to come knocking on your door and ask you, where's my cut? Okay. Um, and so for me, what matters is my intellectual freedom. What matters is achieving my vision. What matters is my family. And these things ground and center me, and they sort of block out the noise. And also my experience, 18 years ago in China, I mean, that was a very traumatic experience for me, and I don't want to experience that again. So I don't want to be hot-headed. I don't become arrogant. I don't want to let success get in my head. And that's why I choose not to monetize my YouTube channel, because if I see all that easy money rolling in, right, it's going to make me greedy. It's going to blind me. It's going to make it, it's going to corrupt me. And so I rather not deal with it. I do have a Substack which generates reasonable income. Okay. So yeah, I want to generate income, but not to the extent where it's like winning a lottery and it traumatizes me and it blinds me from my true purpose.
Hmm. Yeah, and one of the reasons I asked this is something that I've been wrestling with like not just platform capture, like when your livelihood is embedded in a platform, then you kind of like
Yes.
bend towards it, or what they call audience capture. It's like you have this validation, the support, criticism, and that bends you in a certain way. And how do you kind of like be in relationship with that while maintaining your integrity? Um, And so this kind of like, people talk about it in the attention economy, not just the economy, but the attention economy, and like having viewers and getting people's eyeballs, that's a form of currency now and a form of power because you can say things that influence people's minds and you can kind of like make an impact in that way. And so you have this capacity to exercise this power now and change worldviews. And there's going to be people who want to like influence you because you have that,
Yeah, yeah.
access. And so maybe you can speak a little bit about the power that you have and that will be having due to this attention and how you're going to be influenced potentially and how to like protect yourself against it beyond the means that you mentioned about like maintaining integrity to your vision.
Yeah, so for me, what really matters is intellectual creative freedom. So I want to be able to share my ideas with my students and with the world at large. But the impact of these ideas is something that I cannot anticipate. I don't have real control over. Okay, so for example, one video that blew up recently is my discussion of um, evil, why people commit evil. And I talk about what's happening in Gaza as an example, as a real life example of why evil happens and why people commit evil. And that video blew up. Okay, it blew up so much that Andrew Tate, you know, copied me. I mean, he basically took my words and then had his own video sharing my ideas. And that's wonderful. I mean, I want people to share my ideas, and I'm perfectly happy for people to share my ideas. And Barack Obama also used my ideas as well. I had this one video where I discussed how baby boomers are destroying the world, and Barack Obama in a speech said, the problem with this world is people over 80 refuse to give up power. And the audience went wild, and obviously he was using my ideas as well. So I'm very thankful for the influence that I have. And I understand that eventually I'll be monitored by intelligence agencies because, as you say, attention is power. And they need to control my voice if they are to control perception and make people more docile and obedient. And I'm aware of this. But my theory is this, okay? And I'm not sure if this theory is correct or not, but you have to let the devil in. You have to like be greedy. You have to like welcome the devil into your house before he's allowed in. What I mean by that is you need to take their money, right? If you refuse their money, they can't do anything about you. Like they have to tempt you in some way, whether it's money, whether it's flesh, whether it's power, but they need to tempt you. They have to make you an offer. If your entire attitude is like, I don't want this crap, leave me alone, then there's really nothing they can do about it. And this is something that I've learned in my life, where I in China when I was working and study abroad in education, I had access to all these admissions officers at Yale, at Harvard. I could write recommendation letters, and that's a very valuable currency in China at that time. It still is. And so these parents would offer to take me out to dinner, and they would offer to, pay me as much as I want in order for me to write these recommendation letters, which would help their child get into Yale or Harvard. And I always said no. I don't want to meet you. I don't want to have dinner with you. I was always no. And they left me alone. Okay, they didn't bother me anymore because they didn't want to go through the trouble. Okay, so I think you get in trouble when you take their money, you make them these promises, and then you don't deliver on the promises, or you betray them. And I think that's what happened to Charlie Kirk. Okay, I mean, Charlie Kirk at 18 years old, he was supported by these billionaires, and they help him to build up Turning Point USA. And when Charlie Kirk started to defy them, they saw it as a sign of betrayal. And I think that's what ultimately led to his assassination. So I think it's a really important concept to understand. If you refuse to let the devil in the door, there's nothing he can do to you. Once you let him in the door, he has your soul, okay? He thinks he has complete control over you. So it's never like, oh, well, you know what? I'll take $1 million from him, but that's it, okay? No, once you let him in the door, he'll always be there, and he's always has control over you. So my entire philosophy is, I just won't let them in. I just won't let them in the door. These intelligence agencies, whether it's Chinese, whether it's Israeli, whether it's American, who knows, whether it's Russian, if they come to the door, I'll just say, you know what, I'm not interested. I don't want your money. You have nothing to offer me. And that's my attitude going forward. Now, but you're absolutely right in that as I become much more influential, much more famous, it'll be very hard to avoid them. But I'm 49, turning 50 next year, and I've been in China for 30 years. And so I know a lot about corruption. I know a lot about bribery. I know a lot about how people manipulate other people. And I've been very good at keeping myself clean in China. So, but I do understand that moving forward, this will be a test of my faith. This will be a test of my determination. This will be a test of my resolve moving forward.